Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We are live from the Torch Center, live audience. And we have our friends on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We have on Torch Zoom. We have our podcast recording. We're all set. We're all set, ready to go. Okay, so last week we started talking about a specific trait as an example so that we can relate and understand what it means when we talk about the trait that is embedded within each of us. We all have traits embedded within each of us that are unique to everyone, to every individual. Now, what we need to understand is how do we identify these traits? How do we overcome them? How do we isolate them? How do we overcome them? And how do we correct them? Okay, and it's a process to take each one of them. We have a number of options. The first option is just to ignore everything and make believe it doesn't exist. But that's not going to fix any problems, right? That's what most of the world expects, that, they say an unbelievable, I don't know if you can trust any newspaper today that's written, but there was a study that was done. A friend of mine told me he was just after a divorce, and he told me he was very, very concerned. Why? Because he just read a New York Times article which said that most people in their second marriages have the same exact issues they had in their first marriage. Right? I'm sorry. Everything okay?
Yeah. Just making a mess.
It's okay. Don't worry about the mess. Don't worry about the mess. I just hope you're okay. So they found that's not the right cover for it.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so every person it's okay, we're gonna wait. We'll wait a minute. No, it's okay, we'll wait a minute. Okay. No, there's no lids. Those lids don't work.
No lids. This is pretty cool. I'm going to dump a little while. Please do.
Okay, I'm sorry. So this friend of mine asked me, he says, how is it possible that when people get married a second time, they have the same exact problems as they had the first time? It's a different person. All right? It's a different person. I should have different problems, different challenges. He said, no. And this I tried to explain to him. You haven't changed. And if you don't change, the problems are going to be the exact same problems. Their face might be different. Their hair color might be different, right? Their family, the family dynamics might be different. But your problems will still remain your problems. They will not change if you don't change them, if you don't fix them. And which is why I say, in most cases, now in many cases it is necessary, but in most cases, I think divorce is unnecessary. In most cases, not all cases. Why? Because if you're having a specific issue, that same issue is going to linger with the next person. And if you work on it, you can stay with the person you're with, because it'll heal itself. You understand? So it doesn't make any sense. You can't run away from your problems. Your problems will continue to follow you.
Tiger doesn't change his strength.
Exactly. Right? So he said, so a person is a prisoner to their own negative traits. If they don't work on fixing it, they will remain a prisoner to their own negative traits, unless they are able to work on changing it. But let's see a little bit more about this. Rabbanan Amri, our sages said, Shiva Dvarim Amar Shlomo ala Atzel. 7 things King Solomon said about the lazy one. Umasha Amar Moshe Hiyagadu Mikulam. And what Moses said about laziness was greater than all of the 7 things that King Solomon said. Ketzad, how? Amar Lo Atzel right? If you tell to the lazy person, your rabbi's in town, or tell them their favorite thing, your actor, actress, your musician, your greatest politician, you're a great movie star, or whatever it is that, right? They're in town. Go see them. They say, well, I don't know. There might be a lion in the street, or I might get into a car accident, or a lazy person will always have excuses. They will always have excuses and reasons not to actually go out and do things. L'sof shaloi haya yodea malahashiv omer, and when he doesn't have any answers after a long list of excuses, he says, I'm not sure if my door to leave my house is open or closed. I'm not sure if I have my keys to my car, right? It's like they'll always have another excuse. I just want to sleep a little bit more. Bottom line, I just want to sleep a little bit more. Right?
Is that only tied to laziness? Is there a lot of insecurities? People that are insecure, all of a sudden they're not.
Well, so I think that it's a great question. Is it insecurities or things like that? I think that we mask a lot of things today with these labels. Let's call them labels, right? We mask them with all of these things. Oh, I'm ADHD, so that's why I can't, right? I'm ADHD myself, okay?
Yeah.
It's not an excuse not to work hard. It's not an excuse not to accomplish. It's not an excuse not to be able to succeed in life.
It's not an excuse not to live.
Exactly. Exactly. And we allow ourselves to become prisoners to circumstances.
I can't go because there's too much traffic. Now with the traffic.
Right. You know, my father always used to say, I can't means I don't want to.
Yeah, and a lot of it is avoidance.
Right. And people just don't want to, right. It's right. So
I love the people that say, oh, we have to get together. Like we've been saying, we have to get together. Oh, come on, you guys need it.
So there are 8 different statements that were made by King Solomon on the lazy one, on the lazy person. It says, for example, Leichel Nemala Otzel, go to the little ant, right? You see the little ants working. They don't stop working 24 hours a day. They're going back and forth, back and forth. An ant, because they're so committed to toil, to hard work, they're the only creature that can carry something which is 3 times their own weight.
I've seen it.
Right? They carry this big boulder, right? It's 1 crumb, but it's a big boulder on its head, bigger, 3 times the size, 3 times its own weight it can carry. It's an unbelievable thing. They're non-stop working. King Solomon says as a piece of advice, a person who's lazy should go to the ant, see how busy it is, how it keeps itself so active and doesn't stop. Or you can go to Bobby and see Bobby nonstop, right? Amar Reb Shimon bar Yochai said the following: Zeh she'eino lomed Torah b'na'aruso u'mevakesh lilmod b'ziknus ve'eino yochel. He says one will avoid studying when he's young, and then when he's older, he's going to say, "Oh, I want to learn Torah," and he's not going to be able to. It's going to be incapable. He's going to be incapable. No, you are capable, right? And you are, right? But it all comes from laziness, right? Because it's going to be so, not because they're not capable, because their laziness is going to be so entrenched within them, they're not going to be able to break away from it. So now what does Moses say? We said that what Moses said about the lazy person is greater than all the 8 things that King Solomon said about the lazy person. Okay? Uma Omar Moshe, right? What did he say? He said the following words. It's coming up in about 8 weeks. We're going to be reading this Torah portion, 8 or 9 weeks. It says, Ki korov elecha hadovar me'od beficha u'bevavcha la'asoso. What did Moshe say in the Torah? It says that the Torah is so close to you that all you have to do is want it in your heart and say it in your mouth. That's it. That's it. And even that, a lazy person will figure out a way not to do. Laziness is a terrible thing. All right? Hotzeh davar mitoch picha. Just take the words out of your mouth. Just speak them out. That's what you need to do. And a person is able to successfully break away from that laziness. He says, Shivat HaTziyurim Ba'atzlut, the 7 examples of laziness, Sha'amaron, sorry, it was 7, not 8, that King Solomon said, Nirim Kidvarim Pshutim are generally simple things. But you'll find a very amazing thing in these examples. Keitzad atzlut miracheket ruchaniyut. How laziness pushes away spirituality. Laziness counters spirituality. Hatalmid hatzarich l'rabo hu hamashal leguf hazakuk litkarvut l'chokhmah. He says, when we say about a student who could go see his rabbi, but has all of these boundaries that he needs to break through in order to go there. There's going to be a lion who's going to eat me. I'm going to get into an accident. I'm going to die. It's going to rain, right? There's so many different excuses that they'll bring. He says, this is the body talking about wisdom. The body is saying, I can't handle wisdom. And creates all of these barriers between themselves and acquiring more wisdom. And what happens is that because they artificially create these barriers because of their laziness, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is, I want to go back to sleep. I'm tired. I'm heavy. Right? That's it I want. That's the bottom. They'll have all of the excuses in the world. We actually talked about this a little bit on Friday in our Talmud class, because we discussed the amazing trait of the Jewish people, where we said, Nasa v'nishma, we will do and we will listen. Right? It's almost like, how can you say such a thing when you don't even know what it's going to entail? How can a person say, I'm willing to accept without knowing what it's going to entail? Well, it's more than just trust. Well, right, a couple gets married, right? Do they say, well, I want to know everything that this marriage is going to entail? There's no way to know. But because there's so much love, we say, it doesn't make a difference. Whatever it is, we'll overcome it together. Because I love you so much, I'm willing to dedicate my life to you. Right? The same thing was our relationship with God. We didn't care about the details, because we know as long as we have a relationship with God, we'll be able to accomplish anything. So it's irrelevant, the details. So when the Sadducees or the others were questioning the rabbis, how in the world can you accept, you guys are you're so impulsive. You just make this rash decisions without thinking it through. No, it's not a rash decision. It's based on a love. And when you have that love, right? I'll give you another example. Someone has a love for money, a lust for money, or a lust for food. Suddenly they're not lazy. Right? Suddenly I can eat and I can work hard. I'll wake up early in the morning just because I want to buy that dream car, just because I want to have that dream house, just because I want to go on that vacation. So that is a motivator. So now we'll see in a second what the tool is going to be to overcome that laziness. Find something that motivates you. And when you find something that motivates you, that's when you'll be able to overcome. A person who doesn't have any motivators has a bigger problem. There's nothing that excites them. That's sad. That's depression. There's no life. There's no existence. There's nothing to live for.
Why get up in the morning?
And then why get up in the morning? So it's very interesting. I have a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine. He's a rabbi in the tri-state area, and he always gives an example of a child. My little children. So it's every day this is like this, okay? And it happened with all the different, we have, basically 2 or 3 different generations with my 7 children, Kanai Nahara, right? So I remember when my oldest was young, when he was 2 years old, 3 years old, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And what happens is that during those years, they're dreamers. So they can't sleep. They wake up in the morning, first thing, boom, they're out, they're dressed, they're ready to go. Why? Because they're dreaming of accomplishing the entire world. But then they get to the teenage years, and basically people either tell them or they feel like, you know what, you really can't accomplish anything anyway. You can't do anything. And so what happens is they just want to sleep, because forget about my dreams. I don't have any dreams. I just leave me alone. I want to just sleep. Right? Until later years, that hopefully gets awakened within them, either through inspiration, spiritual desires. They want to grow, they want to connect, they want to learn, they want to make money, whatever that is able to thrust them back into that dream world, that world of becoming a dreamer, you can accomplish anything that you want. And that's what we need to do for our children when they're in those years, is to keep on giving them dreams and hopes, and not to squash it. Not to like, you'll never make it. You'll never be a Major League Baseball player. Why are you even bothering to play? Right? You'll never be a basketball player. Why even bother? Don't squash it. Right? I remember once I asked my rabbi, we got into a discussion about Little League, and whether or not it was a proper Jewish value to instill in our children. It was an interesting conversation. See, he said, you might want to reconsider sending your child to Little League. He says, because 99.8% of people who go to Little League don't end up in the major leagues. So if you have any ambitions of him going to the major leagues, you might want to keep him out of a Little League, right? But the idea is that children sometimes lose that ambition. And I think that's part of the problem we're facing today, where we have so many young professionals who are questioning the meaning of life. What am I even living for? Why do I need this life? And sadly, it's resulting in a frighteningly growing number of suicides, right? And that's partially because they really don't have what to dream for.
Rabbi, I think it's also the way our lives go today with accessibility to so many materialistic things that they can't keep up with the Joneses. I can see it in
it's a terrifying
kids
trend.
that have so much and no boundaries.
Right.
And I think that's why so many these outreach programs have been lifelines for many young people and people even our age. I think I can say that people need more. Like you can only put your pants on one leg at a time. You
Right.
don't need all the other extraneous things that we've been exposed to.
And you know what's even more surprising is that I believe, not because I'm a rabbi, I believe this before I was a rabbi, that the Torah is a manual for life. Not like I've heard people tell me this, and they don't realize how it's not only it would be insulting if they realized how stupid it was, but they really don't realize how stupid it is that they say this. So they've said to me, Rabbi, my nephew is struggling. I think he needs religion, right? No, you need religion just as much as he does, okay? You're right. You may not feel it as much because you're being bombarded with all of these different things. You don't even have the time to see that you need a connection with the Almighty. Right? But, they're facing a challenge and therefore they need religion. Religion will be like a medication, like, poor kid can't find himself. Maybe religion will be good for him. It'll be better than him just roaming the streets. No, that's not the way it works. Every single human being, God didn't create the world only for the religious. He didn't create the world only for those who study Torah. He created the world for everyone. But he gave the Torah to the Jewish people, and this is the manual that shows us how to maximize every minute of life. You find me one other source in the entire world that can give you such access to wisdom, such access to happiness, to fulfillment. One. Yeah, you can go to all of the classes and all of the all of the lectures and all of these big programs that are motivators and can help you direct your life to accomplish your financial goals and to make all of these, that's not going to make you happy. That will not make you happy. Anybody who seeks happiness, which is everyone, like literally every person on planet Earth desires happiness. Right? And that is, the truth is, what's the purpose of life, which is number one question on people's minds today. What is the purpose of life? It's going to surprise you, the answer. What do you think is the purpose of life?
Well, I think to reach your potential.
Okay, to reach your potential. What do you think is the reason?
Me.
Yeah, what's the purpose of life?
I think God wants us to be happy people.
Okay. Jerry, what do you think is the reason, the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? You're muted. Okay, to have a reason for being. Okay, so I think we're almost all on the same page, but Ramchal says something totally different. Totally different. And this is a shocker. Hold on to your hold on to your chairs, okay? It's a shocker. You want to know the reason for living? Pleasure. God put us into this world for pleasure. Right? But that is the truth. Happiness is a pleasure. Fulfillment is a pleasure. We are in this world for pleasure. And if we don't, we can fake ourselves through. We can fake ourselves through. There are plenty of people doing it. Right? There are millions of people, billions of people faking it through. How many people are investing their lives only in pleasure? Now, not low-class pleasures. Okay? Music is a low-class pleasure, right? Physicality, low-class pleasure. Food is a low-class pleasure. I'm talking about high-class pleasure, first class, not baggage, okay? They all travel, but there's a different way in which, a different style in which you can travel. You have first, you have business, you have coach, you can ride along in the baggage and you can hold on to the wheels, right? Each one has its own level of pleasure, sophistication in it, right? The lowest level, anybody who listens to music that they enjoy has the same joy, has the same enjoyment and pleasure. That's not hard work. Okay. Oh, so now you're gonna ask, so how do we get to the top first level? We're gonna dedicate classes to it. No, we're gonna dedicate classes to it because it's very, very important to know the 5 levels of pleasure. To know, you know what? Think of it like this. What pleasure does not expire after a few minutes? Okay, I'll give you an example. I remember when I got my car. It's like, I don't think I can ever get bored from the excitement of this car. Right? It's like, it's awesome, right? You like that fresh smell, right? How long does that take for it to be gone? A week? Right? And then it's done. You right? So now, for the rest of your ownership of this car, you don't have that excitement anymore. So is that real pleasure? No. It's a fleeting pleasure, right? Food. Oh, I'm so excited. It's my favorite dish. But once you eat it, it's gone. It was delicious. Great. But it's gone. Right? People today are running after the cheap pleasures. The whole world is running after cheap pleasures. Just look in any billboard, right? You won't find 5th highest level pleasure in any of those billboards. They're all fleeting. It'll tell you, weight loss technique. It'll tell you all of these different beaches you can go to, a cruise you can go on. Right? Again, but these are fleeting things. They come and go, come and go, come and go.
Be comfortable in your own skin to have pleasure.
Oh, right. So I want to dedicate some time to working on real high-class pleasures, not selling out to the cheap stuff. Real high-class pleasures.
Let me know when you're doing it.
Yeah, we're going to be doing it. We'll do it. But the idea here is that it's very easy to be tricked. It's very easy to be tricked by fake, counterfeit. It's like, imagine this. Imagine I give you $1 million. Here's $1 million. You take the $1 million and you go to the just a second, and you go to the mall and you start buying. You go Louis Vuitton and you buy the beautiful bag. Okay, you go to Coach and you buy your shoes, and you go to each one of the stores and you're buying the stuff, and you're coming out of the mall with all of your bags, and you're so happy. And then they stop you and they say, "You're under arrest." I'm like, me? What am I under arrest for? Well, you made all these purchases with counterfeit money, right? You made all these purchases with counterfeit money, right? That the idea that we have pleasures in this world that are counterfeit pleasures, they're not real, right? We think for a moment, look, oh my goodness, wow, I did it. And then it's empty, right? Money is one of those things that's a counterfeit pleasure, right? Look through statistics of people who won the lottery, right? And their life expectancy, it's about 12 months, right? Because they don't, it's a fake concept of pleasure. It's the fake concept of pleasure. That's not real pleasure. And the more we invest ourselves in a world that is a temporary experience with more temporary things, the less pleasure we will have. And the more, at the end of the day, people feel empty. Like, so 1 second, I did all of this to go on that vacation, and now what? Where am I? What has that brought me to my life? And it's important to ask these questions, like, what is the purpose of living? To ask that to ourselves every single day. Why am I living?
You can make like a vacation a spiritual experience.
It has to be a spiritual experience.
Like if you really look at nature and you realize
Even more than that,
gave
100%. You know, the Talmud says that one of the questions that we are all going to be asked when we pass on to the next world, we're going to be standing in front of the heavenly courts, and they're going to ask us, did you enjoy from this world? And our answer better be yes. Because if it's a no, God's going to say, what do you mean? I created the Swiss Alps for you. I created the Rocky Mountains for you. I created the Grand Canyon for you. I created the geysers in Yellowstone National Park for you. How could you not have enjoyed the world that I created for you? It's like if a husband or wife bakes a cake for their beloved and they don't even touch it. I created it for you. I baked it for you. I got all of the ingredients. I spent the time. You didn't even touch it. How could you not have done that? Right? God created all of the beauty that we have in this world for us to enjoy. So now, one of the things that I am trying to make sure that I'm firm with my staff is that they must take a vacation. They must. Not that it's okay. Oh, it's okay. You must. And ensuring that they go on something that they can turn their brain off a little bit to just see the beauty of the world, to enjoy time with their family. So because that is the greatest reboot to coming back refreshed. It's the greatest reboot. It's the most healthy experience so that they can come back to work with refreshed and renewed energy. All right, so a vacation must be a spiritual experience. Not, oh, it's June, it's time for my vacation, right? That's not the way it should be. It should be that a person works and a person might need, right, more time to rest than others. They might need a more extended time, more frequent time. That's all according to each individual. It's all according to each individual. But a person has to be very, very careful to notice. A person has to be very, very careful to notice what do I need right now, and where am I holding? Jerry, you've been holding on for a question there.
I was brought up at a young age. Statement was made, even the cockroach corner will live.
Right.
That's how I was brought up. You have to find out what is that.
Right. It's 100% true. Every creature on the planet Earth wants to live, and they will fight to live, to survive. Right. And right, because life is pleasure, and we don't want to let go of life. At the end of the day, even a miserable person wants to live. Right. But that again is the reminder that we need here, that laziness separates us and distances us from our spiritual goals. Okay, laziness has the ability to distance us from that wisdom, from that knowledge. All right, so he says as follows: Kol ha'efshariyot shel hitkarvut l'ruchaniyut machriya haratzon lishon. Semel ha'adam hashakua legamre b'havai gufani toch kibui oro hasichli. Okay, he says, what does sleep do? What is sleep? Sleep is shutting off my system. Because you don't have to think to sleep. You don't have to be productive to sleep. You don't have to do anything. You just sleep. Right? It just is. Right? So you turn off the lights, and that's it. And now we just exist. Ubitziyur atzela mitkarev harav semol ruchaniyut el hadam yoter v'yoter. Ad rabcha betoch habayit v'adel ptucha. He says, he gives an example from King Solomon, that till the opportunity, which could be that rabbi you're going to listen to, or the great attraction that you want to be part of, right? Instead of me going out there, they come here into my house. The door is open, and I just need to sleep a little bit more, right? The idea that Ela sha'atzel mirachek ruchaniyut v'dochata b'shtei yadayim is that someone who's lazy is physically pushing away opportunities for growth and connection and spirituality with both hands. Lebasof, and at the end, tamun natzel yado b'tzalachat nil'eh lahashiva el panav, she'afilu pe'ulot haguf holchot u'mishtatkot, ki be'efes yuzma ruchanit mishta'eret kvedut ha'afar gam el chaye haguf. So he says as follows. He says the body, okay, this heaviness of the body is the polar opposite of spirituality. If we want to accomplish spirituality, there's only one way we can overcome this barrier, is by moving it. Do it. Go. Get started. But to wait till, it's like, Hava and I were once thinking to write an excuse book for all the excuses we've heard for different things, for why people didn't want to come for Shabbos meals, why people didn't want to come to classes, why people didn't want to come. It is fascinating what people come up with. It is absolutely fascinating that people find every excuse possible, even though they know it's not true. Even though they know, it's like they're fooling themselves, so to speak, right? They know that it's not, but they just have to say something because they don't want to get into that situation. Now, I think many times it's a fear, but more times it's a laziness, right? How many times do we fear? Does a person ever fear going into a store they've never been into? No. Never been there. I'll go in. What could happen? Why do people have a fear of coming to something spiritual? Try it. Let's see. We're ready to try everything else in the world. We're ready does everybody know what they're going to watch on YouTube before they click to watch the next video and the next video and the next or Facebook, right?
I wonder.
Right? And then Facebook, they're scrolling and Instagram and all of these other things. Do we know what we're going to watch? And therefore we say, oh, that's what I want to watch? No. But we're willing to take that risk. But when it comes to spirituality, it's like, no, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to like it. I'm not, right? I have to watch my neighbor's dog. Like, they'll come up with anything because they're terrified. Because again, laziness is the antithesis, or the opposite, the polar opposite of spirituality.
They probably think too that something is going to be expected of them.
So we write on all of our things. No prior knowledge, no Hebrew reading required, no background, no nothing. Like, just come and enjoy it, right? Just be eager to learn.
You know, my friends, I have such a great support system of friends, but the thing that they'll say to me is, gee, I admire so much that you're learning. And I say, come with me just one time.
Right.
I've never yet brought a friend.
Right.
You know, oh, you know, it's far, I can't go. Oh,
Right.
I don't know, whatever.
Right.
What is that?
That is the Yetzer Hara saying, I know. It's the Yetzer Hara saying, I know that this person coming to learn will grow so much, I can't afford it. I have to come up, and this is, again, it's a combination of Yetzer Hara dangling those treats in front of them, whatever that may be. It could be the mahjong or whatever it is that they're and their own laziness, their unwillingness. And by the way, these are the people who call themselves open-minded, right? They're open-minded. It's like, oh, you're going to learn. You're probably a little closed-minded. Yeah, right.
What about the atheist that says to the rabbi, oh, thank you for letting me come to services even though you know I don't believe in God?
Right, exactly.
And
Right.
I want to say, because I've heard, I'm sure it was you that said, well, why is it that so many people are reaching out to God when they're sick, or God, please make me well, or God, you know.
Right. But do you know what I tell atheists? Because most atheists are just idiots. They really are. Most of them. They're not bright people. I'm being honest with you. And no offense to the atheist community out there watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend you. But here's the real truth. What most people don't believe in a God, I don't believe in that God either. Because they have no idea what God is. They have no idea what they're talking about. They have some imagery in their mind, either they got it from a movie or from a book or from a teacher about what God is that isn't true. And I don't either believe in that God. You want to talk about the real God? Come on, let's have a conversation. But the God they don't believe in, you don't either. None of us believe in. Right? It's important to remember this, because most people, right? Most people, when they hear, so do you believe in God? Oh, I believe in Christianity. I believe in Islam. I believe in this. I'm an atheist. Ooh, must be brilliant, intelligent. Right? Agnostic. Yeah, that's also a very stylistic thing right now. Yeah, very. Well, atheist is that I don't believe in a God, right? Agnostic is that I know there is none. Right? Atheist is more or less, I'm still open to discuss it. I don't believe there is one, but I'm still open, right? Agnostic is I know that there is none. I have knowledge that there is none, which is the craziest thing in the world. It's crazier than atheist. All right, but either way, we're not here to judge people. But the idea is that why do people have a fear? Why do people put up that barrier? Because there's a cheaper way to pleasure. There's a cheaper way to pleasure. The highest level of pleasure is going to cost you more. I'll give you an example. Is there anybody who ever ran a marathon that didn't at some point or other say, I can't do this anymore? I know for a fact, okay? And every single person who's ever run a marathon has broken down and said, I think I'm done. And they needed someone to tap them on the back and say, no, you can do this. You can do this. I know you can do this. But I can't. I'm so tired. My legs are hurting me. I just can't. It's like, and there's all of these reasons why not. But then when they win that victory and they win and they finish, right? The joy of what? That I overcame my doubt. I overcame all of those things that were standing in my way, saying I couldn't do it. We all have things that come in our way that try to stop us from accomplishing. And that's the bottom line, is that is the battle of our lives.
But everybody needs I think, wants somebody who believes in them. They want to feel
100%.
you believe in me.
Right.
Maybe that's the reason I keep coming to Torch. You believe in me. You know.
True. And I'll tell you who believes in you more than I do. God. Which is why we have prayer. Why do we have prayer? Prayer is the most amazing thing, because in prayer, we talk to Hashem. And we think about it for a second. God created such a sophisticated world. He created the world that is filled with unbelievable capabilities, powers, talents, abilities. And he gave all of that to me and to you, to each one of us. Why? Because he loves us, because he believes in us. If God didn't believe in us, he would pull the plug. But he believes in us, so he gives us another day. He believes that we can accomplish, and we're constantly doubting ourselves. I don't know, could I not? Well, God thinks you can. God doesn't think you can. God knows you can, which is why he continues to give you that opportunity.
I think I don't know how other people might
So-
feel, but I think something, when you're talking about developing different programs, I think learning what you said about prayer, because to
Right,
me
so I
it's
think all of them.
it's hard to, I don't know.
We're going to be talking about how to live a stress-free life. We're going to be talking about 5 levels of pleasure. We're going to be talking about what did you just say now? What's that? Prayer. We're going to be talking about understanding that we are important in God's world. We're really, really important. So to our friends on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, thank you so much. Have a magnificent week ahead, filled with accomplishment, overcoming those challenges. And I look forward to seeing you in the next class. Have a wonderful, wonderful